Thanks for checking out yet another installment of the 1980s horror superlative series that I'm doing in collaboration with your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete. Just a reminder up top, kind of how this thing works. We each make our own superlative picks out of 7 categories, and then you, the watchers, watch my video, watch Uncle Pete's video, who is linked in my description, and then you come back to my channel and you go to the community tab and you vote on whose picks you liked more or who you thought had the better justification for their picks. Either way, you want to do that. Make sure you watch both videos before voting because we don't want anyone kind of throwing off voting unfairly, because there are people who are really taking this seriously and having an awesome time with it, including Uncle Pete and I are having a great time. We don't vote for, we don't vote for ourselves or each other. We just don't vote, but we're having fun regardless, and I'm glad that other people are having fun with it as well. So this is, I used Letterboxd. Uncle Pete and I both use Letterboxd, so we just look it up by the release date and then also genre of horror, and that's kind of the list we had to choose from. It also needs to be film that you have actually seen. So there may be films that you're like, oh man, I can't believe he didn't choose this one, but I just haven't seen the film yet. But that's the perfect opportunity to drop a comment about it and let me know that this is a film I should check out. So this was a tough year for me. This was a tough one, and I don't actually own a lot of these films. 2 of them I do, including the very first one. So the most amazing, which I considered this one for a few separate categories, one in particular that will come to mind for people. That's why this was a hard decision. My most amazing is actually in this collection right here behind me. I have the Groovy collection for the Evil Dead, and in 1987 it was Evil Dead 2 that came out. Very unique, very interesting film, obviously, because it's basically a remake of the original film that was done in more of a serious manner. This kind of amps up the comedy, but it amps up the gore like crazy. So I also considered this for the best gore category, because if I could put a film in 2 categories, which is a rule that we said we cannot do with Uncle Pete and I, it would have been in gore as well, because man, the gore with this. But I think it made the most sense to put it in most amazing, because this film is awesome. It is funny. It is heavy on gore. It moves at an amazing pace. At no point does it feel like it's stagnating. It just goes, goes, goes. There's a lot of crazy twists and turns coming at you. You just don't know what's really going to happen. You have a basic idea because if you've seen the original Evil Dead, because this is basically a remake, but there's so much stuff done differently, shot differently, acted a bit differently, that it's like a new film, and that's unbelievable to me. Plus, obviously, it looks amazing. Sam Raimi does an amazing job. He's still using those kind of like fun, fast-moving, following demon shots throughout the film, and it's just an insanely awesome ride. So if you have not seen any of the Evil Dead stuff, make sure you do it. Obviously, I'm a fan since I have the Groovy collection here. Unfortunately, Army of Darkness is not in that collection, but it's a wonderful collection. I got it for like 60-some bucks, and it's Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, and the entire Evil Dead, Ash vs. Evil Dead TV show, which is great throughout. Anyway, most amazing pick, Evil Dead 2. My best so bad it's good film. This one was tough for me, but in the end, I went with the film Dolls. Now, this is a Richard Band film, but it's pre-Puppet Master. So if you watch this film and you know that it's pre-Puppet Master, you can get this feeling of what came later with Puppet Master. It definitely has the seeds of Puppet Master films in it. Dolls, very fun. It's obviously about killer dolls. They did a really good job with how the dolls look, but story-wise, it's not great. Acting-wise, it's not great. Dialogue isn't great. It's definitely so bad it's good, because there's a lot of cheesy, ridiculous stuff, including how a lot of the kills look. They're very ridiculous, especially this one kill where a bunch of the dolls are ramming a woman. Like, they grab her all around her body, she's on the ground, and they're ramming her head into the wall. It looks terrible, but it's goofy, and it's fun, and it's wonderful, and it has, I believe, the Charles Band. I think Charles Band did the music, which he did a lot of the music for Richard Band films. It's a fun ride. It's extremely fun. My favorite part in the beginning has to do with a gigantic killer teddy bear that's actually not real. It's a part of like a nightmare that someone has that's actually very foreshadowing. Well, not exactly, but it's this kind of like foreboding nightmare type thing in essence. But It is a very solid flick, fun but terrible at the same time. So that's why Dolls is my pick for So Bad It's Good superlative. Next, we have the most WTF category, and that is going to go to Slumber Party Massacre 2, which, when I first watched Slumber Party Massacre 2, I did not like it at all. Then someone asked me to watch it again and give me kind of like an analysis and context behind what's actually going on there. And there's a lot behind that film. It goes very deep. Now, that said, it's my WTF pick because there's a lot of weird, wacky stuff happening all the time throughout the film, including a Freddy Krueger-esque killer who comes out of someone's nightmares, and they call him the Driller Killer because he's got this big, awesome-looking guitar with a drill on the end, and he goes around just drilling people. Not just that, but he sings and dances as well. It's a ridiculous film. It's just ridiculous all the way throughout, but it's also fun. And the context of it, if you watch the first film and then you watch the second film and you look at it through the standpoint of the character who is from the first film in the second film and what the whole situation within it is a metaphor for, which is basically trauma and dealing with trauma and having a fear of becoming like her sister. It has a very deep meaning to it, and it actually is kind of brilliant in the way it's written. Now, the way it's executed, kind of ridiculous. I could see someone putting this for their best So Bad It's Good film, but upon a second viewing, I actually really enjoyed it, and I do need to purchase it. I have the first Slumber Party Massacre. I do need to add Slumber Party Massacre 2 to my list. But there's a raw chicken situation in this, which is quite interesting. But if you have watched this film or you're going to watch this film and you want, some deeper information on it, I'm willing to talk about that. I don't think I didn't do a follow-up review. My first review I have on my channel was actually just the first time I watched it when I wasn't a fan. But I think I did a live stream, actually, that should still be on my channel where I talked about it. I talked about, I think, both of them, Slumber Party Massacre 1 and 2. And there's some good nuggets of knowledge in there. But anyway, so most WTF film of '87, Slumber Party Massacre 2. Best gore. I love this film. Street trash. I didn't own it for quite a long time. My wife finally got it for me for Christmas this past year, and she was like, I can't believe you didn't own this film. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't own that film until then either. It is awesome. It is so much fun. It is schlocky. It is depraved. It is ridiculous. And it's not traditional gore in it because all the gore is done in like Technicolor. Like it's all like neon colors. And I mean, the pièce de résistance is obviously the toilet melt scene where the guy drinks the Tenafly Viper and then just starts melting in Technicolor into this toilet in this abandoned kind of knockdown building site. Unbelievable. It's ridiculous. It's over the top. So it's not gore in the sense of like realistic looking blood and guts. It's gore in the sense of really gross and over the top and just looking fun, to be honest. So street trash. A lot of people may find it kind of offensive nowadays. I understand that for sure, but it's of its time. Certainly, a film like this would probably not so much be made now, but I appreciate it for what it is, watching it with the context of the times in mind. But, man, very fun and definitely deserving of the best gore pick. So, street trash, best gore. Moving on from there, we have the most unique. Now, this is another one that's actually featured in my room quite a bit. Up here. Over here. Up there again. Hellraiser. Hellraiser is unbelievably unique. Now, if you have not seen Hellraiser, make sure you do that. The first and second one, definitely. After that, diminishing returns. But it's also based on an amazing book by Clive Barker called The Hellbound Heart. It's a short book, so I would highly recommend reading that either before or after watching the original Hellraiser, because they are a little bit different. But amazingly written story, probably my favorite book that's from a horror standpoint that's been written. But the film, then bringing it onto screen, Clive Barker did it himself, and he did a phenomenal job. The film is this interesting kind of meshing of like actual horror and dread and fear, but like this interesting sexuality being baked into the whole thing. I mean, The Cenobites in it, who are part of the Order of the Gash, which is what you will find out from the books, um, they're very much focused on the intermingling of pleasure and pain, basically, which is obviously what the character of Frank within the film is all about, and that's what he's going for. And it's this very interesting dichotomy in the film of Kirsty's character and then Frank's character on opposite ends of the spectrum. One being very young and naive and pure, and the other one having gone through life and just tried to, push the limits on pleasure and pain and take it all the way to the end, in essence. And then you have these Cenobites who get involved, and not in any necessarily terrible way. Like, the way they operate is actually very even keel. They operate by these actual like rules that they have, and they're just kind of like, they're doing their job in a sense, which feels weird, but it's also terrifying, but you also understand it to a degree. It's something. This is a very unique story. It's a very interesting concept. It was brought to the screen in a very good way, and I was able to tell Clive Barker that in person. I was very lucky to have met him. This is signed by him, and it's a Japanese version of the poster, but awesome, awesome, awesome. So Hellraiser, my most unique pick. Most overrated. I know I will get some people who disagree with me on this, maybe a lot. John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. I'm not a huge fan of this film. Granted, I think I've only watched it once. It was a few years ago. The pacing was the biggest problem for me. Not great pacing. Interesting concept of basically this canister of ooze that basically is the devil. It's kind of a weird idea. And I could see someone picking this as most unique, but it's definitely most overrated to me. I think that just because films are John Carpenter films, they tend to get a lot of hype no matter what. Well, I guess that's not necessarily true, because people don't talk enough about People Under the Stairs, and that is a really good film of his. But it is one that gets too much love, in my opinion, just because the pacing is so bad within the film. They are in the confines of like this one building, which I kind of like that aspect of films, but they do it in such a boring way. It just seems like they're just there, like there is an evil inside, there is an evil outside, but I don't know, like the story just doesn't get there, in the ending, it doesn't have like an exciting, good finish to it either. I just found it a good concept, but the way it's executed, not the best in my opinion. But I mean, feel free, if you disagree with it, to put your opinions in the comments. I'm always open to that. And that brings me to, well, most overrated, once again, Prince of Darkness. So my most underrated, and if you have not seen this film, shame on you. Definitely see this film. Although, I shouldn't say shame on you. It was just very recently that I saw the film myself. The Stepfather. Terry O'Quinn's performance in The Stepfather is something to behold. What he imbues into his terrible character, a family man who basically jumps family to family until something starts to go wrong, and then terminates the family, it's chilling. And a lot of that has to do with not just the writing. The writing is really good, not just the filmmaking is really good. It's a lot on Terry O'Quinn's performance, and he is chilling. He hits a range of emotional states, of mental states with his character that's believable, and it's scary. It is a wonderful film. I believe Jill Sholin is also in the film as the main hero or heroine to a degree, but it's an unbelievable film. I mean, family horror is kind of its own thing, and I don't really connect with a whole lot of family horror films, but this one, it's just done so well, and it's so scary, and the performances are so wonderful, and it's just so well executed overall that I can't help but love this film. It is wonderful, and I do hear people talk about it from time to time, but in general, I do not hear this film come up nearly enough, and it really should be talked about. Maybe part of it is because people think it's maybe not horror enough, but in my opinion, very horror. So anyway, that's why my last pick is most underrated, The Stepfather. Hopefully people enjoyed this list. Like I said, watch my video, watch Uncle Pete's video, then come back, go to the community tab on my channel, and vote for who you liked their picks most, or liked their justifications most, whatever. We're getting close to being done with the 80s, but we're going to move on to another one. Like I said in my last video, we're going to put up a poll and find out what decade people want to do after this, because we're going to keep it going. We also are going to do a wrap up where we will take every single pick for each of our categories for all the years and use that pool to consider our overall most amazing, most overrated, most underrated, etc. So that should be even harder to do, to be honest. But this has been a lot of fun. I'm glad when people are watching the video, but also very glad when people are commenting and letting us know your picks. Because not only is it just interesting to hear what other people would choose and why, it's very interesting to find out some films that I didn't even know about or I forgot about and I need to bump up my watch list. But thank you everyone for checking this out. Do me a favor, hit subscribe for my channel, hit the notification bell button. Do the same for Uncle Pete's channel because we appreciate it. We're putting a lot into this and we are not making money doing it. We're just trying to have some fun and trying to help you guys have some fun. So we would appreciate the subscribes and hitting the notification bell button. Regardless, I thank you very much for watching this video and being a part of this series. And until next time, keep it brutal.